Good evening. It's John again. Here to play some Immaculate Grid. Have a work function to go run to, so I'll hopefully try to make this quick. About 6 o'clock here on the Coast. Once again, going for that low rarity score. Done pretty well last 3 days, I think. And once again, for the plug is today's brought to you by my book, Baseball's Most Fun Frivolities, available on Amazon. Link will be in the description. And I'll hopefully banter about some topics in the book if I see an Immaculate Grid answer that pertains to something in my book, because what better way to market it? Anyway, I'm going to start sharing here. Got yesterday's. I think I had 10, right? Yeah, it was 10 yesterday, or at least it was 10 at the time. I didn't come back and check. Should probably move my keyboard over and let's get going. We got the Mets, we got the Royals, we got the Pirates, we got the the Reds. Yeah, there we go. And the Giants. Sorry. I was already thinking of some answers. So let's see how we can do here. Let's see, Bobby Bonilla will work here. But there might be some better ones. Reggie Sanders will work here. Reggie Sanders is a common go-to. 0.5%. He also would have worked here. Let's see. Royals and Giants. Oh, okay. They've got a qualifier. It's 300 average with 3,000 plate appearances. I don't think that's all with the team. Like, I think Willie Mays would work here. Well, of course he would because he plays whole career with Giants. But I think someone who moved around a little bit more would also work here. Here, I'm going to go with Archie Vaughn. Let's see how he does. 0.4%. I like Archie. He's the second best shortstop, maybe of all time, and the second best shortstop in the history of the Pittsburgh Pirates. Because obviously you got Honus Wagner, the generation before. Um, that one, Mets and Giants. I'm gonna go Darrell Hamilton, who's a former Brewer, so near and dear to my heart, obviously. Hamilton went from the Giants to the Rockies and from the Rockies over to the Mets the following season. So I think it was 98, 99. Oh, that's a low percentage. 0.07. All right. I have a couple answers that work for this one. George Foster and Tom Seaver will both work. I don't think George Foster's Mets career is particularly memorable. Um, Obviously his Reds career is what people know him for. He had 52 home runs in the 1977 season, I believe, followed up with 40 the very next season. But I don't think he wasn't on the 86 Mets team. Um, let's see. Mike Cameron will also work here, by the way. Maybe I go with Mike Cameron. Nah, that's more reason. I'm gonna go George Foster. Oh, that got 4%. Okay, maybe I was better off with Cameron. Mike Cameron works for a lot of these, and he certainly would have worked here. Let's see here. 300 average, playing at some point with the Reds or predominantly with the Reds. Yeah, it's an interesting one. You could go with Pete Rose. He did hit over 300 for his career. Go with, I think Barry Larkin will work. But then it could be, is it anybody who ever played any games in Cincinnati? Maybe that's in the rules, but we can just find out the hard way. We can just play the game and find out. Um, so let's see. Moving around, moving around. I think Hal Morris will work for this one. Pretty sure he ended up in Kansas City. All right, 0.6%. So far, just George Foster has been over one. Let's see, Royals and Giants. Royals and Giants is kind of an interesting one. No one's really springing to mind. The only person that's really springing to mind, I think Dotel does work here. You know, rule one, if in doubt, go with Octavio Dotel. Um, but and Bobby Bonilla will certainly work. Bonilla, just everyone knows about the Wilpons having to pay him, so maybe that's I think that one is common. I just thought of someone though. I believe the other Frank Thomas played for both teams. 0.2%. There he is, featured with the Pirates, but he played for like almost every NL team for when he was around. So he's usually a safe bet. Like the Mets were an expansion team in '62, but he hit like all those post '62 teams, I think, as well. I think he played for the Astros, if I'm not mistaken. But he was a National League only guy, hit a lot of teams, and had a famous name. All right, so the Giants. I think let's try Bill Terry. New York Giants, all-time great player. He takes 1%. Um, for the Reds, P Rose will just do too well, and I think Larkin will do too well as well. Um, so you could also think of what are some. I just don't know if it's 3,000 plate appearances with the Reds or 3,000 plate appearances for the career, and at some point they appear in a Cincinnati uniform. But even there, I'm like running through people who hit 300, and I'm not leaping out at me as a lot of Cincinnati Reds. A lot of your higher batting averages are way earlier. Um, let's see. And like in a lot of cases, like Ken Griffey Sr. didn't end up with three. Like you have to, if you hang around for a while, you have to, really be consistent to end up at a 300 average. A lot of people, like even, I mean, Albert Pujols, just as an example, a guy hit 330 for a decade, and he ended up with about a 296 average after all that time, the Angels. But I'm very sure on Larkin. I'm very sure on Pete Rose. Um, Morgan hit like 270 for his career. He was a lot lower. Um, I don't think Perez gets there. Um, I don't think Frank Robinson even was quite there. I think he was in the 290s. Um, and once I figure that out, I gotta get over here. I'm putting this one off. I wonder if Paul O'Neill might work. Paul O'Neill's probably a little short. Pretty sure Kevin Mitchell's not going to get the job done. Or some other people on those. All right. I'm gonna shelve that. I'm gonna come over here and I'm just gonna try to talk it out. So obviously we've got opponents in the 2014 World Series. The one that's one person is coming to mind here, and that's Johnny Cato. Um, Man, I'm pretty sure Vita Blue was just ever so briefly with the Royals, and I think that would be a sneaky grab. I'm just not 100% positive on him, but I think he did. I think he was just barely there. Um, I guess he was there, and it was a much more popular choice than I thought. 3%. All right, so I went under 1%. I was 1% or under on 6 of these so far. Where I'm having some troubles coming up with a player for the Reds who hit, about or above 300, but isn't Barry Larkin or Pete Rose, because I think those will be too obvious. And I pretty much went through all the Big Red Machine and couldn't come up with anyone other than Pete Rose who ended up with a 300 career average. And then more modern Reds, you pretty much got Larkin. Votto will also work. Votto might actually take a lot of the heat off Larkin because he's a little bit more modern and Pete Rose is a little bit more famous. So, um, not sure if Dave Parker ended up with 300 average. He played for Cincinnati in the 80s. Um, but at least this one will be illuminating because we'll see what it takes to qualify. But I'm even trying to think like that was not one of the teams Rogers Hornsby ended up with, for example. That was not on the list. Like Tris Speaker didn't like bounce over to Cincinnati. Um, Goose Gosselin was not a Red briefly, I don't think. These are just people I'm thinking of off the top of my head who did hit 300, but I don't recall them being in Cincinnati. And I'm not even 100% on the rule for this one, but I'm going to go with Larkin. I think it'll be a substantial percentage, and then we'll see who else would work here. It's the Reds, man. The Reds are so old. The 1800s, there's got to be like, did Willie Keeler play for the Reds or Hugh Duffy or one of those guys? Answer is I don't know. So I'm going with Barry Larkin, which isn't even right. Huh? So Pete Rose takes 91%. 37 people work, and not among them, well, that's not helpful. Uh, not among them is Barry Larkin. Ah, 295. He should have retired after 2000. It's not loading for me. He should have retired after 2000. I was real confident on Larkin. I just thought he'd do too well. Most people were getting that one. Most people were going with Pete Rose. So, name of the game is chase the rarity score. I chased it. I failed. So what do I end up with? 110. So I'm exactly 100 over. If I'd come up with one of these apparently 37 guys, I might have done a little bit. I would have done a lot better. Uh, the fact that there's 37 to me, that means it's just anyone who ever showed up in Cincinnati. So, dang, Hal Morris would have worked there. Let's see. Would I have gotten any of these? Chick Heffy, Jim Bottomley. I mean, these are guys I've sort of heard of, but I don't associate necessarily with the Reds. Ooh, Harry Hellman would have worked. I guess anyone here would also. So this guy Cy Seymour. I think I've heard of him. Okay. That's interesting. Wee Willie Killer would not have worked, but this guy would have. Jake Stenzel. So we learned a thing. We learned that Barry Larkin did not make a 300 career batting average because, like Albert Pujols, he played a little bit too long. His batting average fell a little bit. And secondly, we learned some guys with cool names who hit 300 for the Reds, including this guy King Kelly. And we learned that you just have to have appeared with the team, not necessarily have gotten 3,000 plate appearances with the team. Like, because this guy Seymour probably only had about 1,500 or so, just ballparking the numbers. But man, look at that 1905 season. This guy Cy Seymour was pretty good. 181 OPS plus. He could play on my team. All right, sorry for letting y'all down. This was fun. Once again, check out the book, and I will be back at it tomorrow, and I'll try not to fail. Have a good night.